The movie begins in a quiet home with the sound of running water. A man named Dwight is in the bathtub. Suddenly, a family arrives home, and Dwight, realizing he is not alone, immediately climbs out the window without clothes and flees. He seeks solace on the beach and begins gathering whatever he can find. He appears to be homeless, taking each day as it comes and even spending the night in his car. One day, while Dwight is waking up in his car, a police officer pulls up next to him. Eddie, a cop, begs him to accompany her. Officer Eddie, in the police station, wishes Dwight to be with someone when he receives some news. She hands him a newspaper announcing the release from prison of the man who murdered both his parents. After leaving the police station, Dwight goes about his day. He stops at a petrol station. The next morning, after going for a swim, he purchases a map of Virginia, refills his car's gas tank, repairs the battery, and pumps up the tires. He's clearly prepared for a long journey. Although he considers purchasing a pistol, the sight of security cameras changes his mind. Instead, he buys a postcard, writes a note on it, and places it in a mailbox before going on his way. Dwight pulls over as dusk falls, attempting to open a couple of parked cars, only to find them locked. Frustrated, he breaks a window and steals a package from inside. He steals a pistol. As he drives away, he fiddles with the safety device, but his struggle causes the gun to crack. Disappointed, he discards the gun and resumes his journey. His quest takes him to a prison where he parks. The prison is the designated release point for the man who killed his parents. A family arrives to welcome the man home. Dwight's emotions flare when he sees the murderer. He silently resolves to follow their vehicle. As soon as he arrives, Dwight breaks into their home. He flees inside and hides in the first place he comes across. When Dwight sees the man who took his parents away, he reacts instinctively. He confronts and stabs the man with fierce determination. They battle briefly before the man collapses, motionless. Dwight exits the bathroom. Attempting to blend in as if nothing had happened, he makes it outside and races to his car. Inside, he discovers his hand slashed open and his keys missing. It appears that he left them in the restroom inside the house, and the other people notice their deceased companion. Dwight dashes to another vehicle outside and, luckily, discovers the keys. As the people inside the home rush out to catch him, he flees. However, he gets to depart accompanied by a demented tire. He continues along the street until he hears a bang from the barrier behind him. He pulls the car to the side of the road, and a man emerges from the back to discover Dwight covered in blood. He asks if Dwight wounded Wade, and when Dwight verifies that he did, since Wade hurt his parents, the man answers, "I don't believe he did," and flees. After the tire bursts, Dwight makes his way through several forests and spots a few houses. He discovers a haunted home and breaks in. Inside, he trims himself, combs his hair, and puts on new clothes. He turns on the news and scrolls through the networks to check for any highlights, but he finds none. He hitchhikes with a truck driver, and the scene cuts to a woman named Sam. She leaves her 2 children in the care of her babysitter and goes to work. On her way out, she notices Dwight hanging out in front and approaches him. They make their way to a diner, where we discover this is his sister. She asks if he needs money, and he says no. He also asks whether she received the postcard he sent, to which she says no. Sam apologizes to Dwight for not keeping in touch, and she informs him that she now has 2 daughters. She also questions why he is appearing after so many years. He then leans down and tells her that he killed Wade. She laughs and reveals that his brother runs a large limousine service in the neighborhood. But Dwight knows Wade's family never notified the police, and he swiftly informs her that they must ensure her girl's safety. They call the babysitter and go to her house. When she doesn't answer, fortunately, all of her daughters are unharmed, and she slaps Dwight for worrying her. She pushes him out, but he informs her from outside that he wants her to move until he resolves the matter with the Cleveland family. Despite the fact that he left a car at her address, she refuses to move. Dwight is playing with the 2 girls inside the house when Sam walks in and agrees to go. She packs her luggage, climbs into the car, and vows to insult Dwight on a new level. As he now controls the house, he locks it and shuts out the lights. As darkness falls, he looks for any intruders. He makes his way upstairs to retrieve his old possessions when he hears a car outside. He goes downstairs and sees a car parked outside. Seeing 2 men in the car, he rushes upstairs to turn on a light in the bathroom faucet. He holds a pitchfork and awaits his intruders. One individual smashes the window from the outside of the house, while another stands directly in front of it. He begins to search for the car keys, but the door squeaks open, causing him to jump to the ground. He creeps through the house, then sprints. However, as soon as he steps outside, someone notices him. As he approaches the car, a man outside attempts to use a shotgun, but Dwight strikes him with a blow. The other man shoots his crossbow, but he misses his target. This allows Dwight to retrieve the gun, and the intruder flees quickly. Believing he is safe, Dwight grabs the unconscious man and places him in the back of the car, only to suffer a leg wound. Nonetheless, he hurriedly gets into his car and races away, barely managing to survive. As morning comes, Dwight removes the money from his captive's wallet and conceals the man's weapon. He drags him out of the car and, panting heavily, puts his prisoner into the boot before taking the remainder of his possessions. While the arrow remains lodged in his leg, he utilizes the car as leverage to remove it. He goes to a nearby convenience store and gets the supplies he needs to seal off the wound. In the back of his car, he immerses the pliers in alcohol and removes the arrow. The anguish is too much to handle, so he rushes to a local hospital and collapses. A few hours later, he awakens to discover a skillfully sewn wound. He quickly leaves the hospital and returns to his car, still wearing his robe. He knocks on the boot to check if the man is still alive, and a loud reaction is received. With that, he gets into the car and leaves. He returns the vehicle to Sam's and, after repairing the smashed window and cleaning the glass on the ground, he drives away once more. This time, however, he hides in a barren area. Dwight finally gets some news when the man's phone rings. It turns out that the other man has returned to his intended location and now wants to know where his prisoner is. Dwight then travels to his former neighborhood and knocks on a door. An old woman responds and interacts with him, but when he tells her his name, she invites him inside. Inside, Dwight wonders where his old pal Ben might be. They inform him that Ben has moved away and is now a member of a band. She hands him the location, and after thanking the elderly woman, he departs. Dwight soon finds himself in a bar, where he asks someone if Ben plays. She answers him, yeah. He waits outside the club for his pal to complete work. Dwight finally notices and pursues him. Ben finds it hard to believe that Dwight is still alive, as he had assumed he had vanished. Dwight informs Ben that he needs a huge favor. The scene then shifts to Ben's place, where he asks Dwight whether he needs a gun for close quarters or long range. When Dwight responds with close quarters, Ben pulls out his Mini 14. He does not want to know what Dwight is up to, however, as a great friend, he grants Dwight some privacy in whatever he is doing on his 16-acre property. The next day, Dwight drives to Ben's property. There, he decides to confront his prisoner and opens the boot. The man introduces himself as Teddy Cleland, the brother of the person Dwight killed. Dwight gives Teddy some water and explains the consequences of surrendering to the authorities. Teddy simply asserts that he will not let Dwight lock himself up and get away with the murder of his brother. Dwight then repeats what the other man told him: Wade didn't kill his parents. Teddy swears it's true. Dwight fires a shot, forcing him to talk. Teddy explains that it was his father, Big Wade, who did it. When he discovered that Dwight's father was having an affair with his wife, he murdered both Dwight's father and mother. He goes on to explain that his father had cancer, and because they didn't want him to die in jail, they chose to let little Wade take the fall instead. Dwight provides Teddy with a phone to call his relatives and arrange a meeting. When someone responds and requests a conversation with Dwight, he approaches the car, at which point Teddy grabs the gun and subdues him. Teddy chuckles at Dwight's weakness as he points the gun at him. Then, suddenly, Teddy falls dead as Ben emerges from the bushes. Dwight is ecstatic, as he was unaware of Ben's presence. After cleaning up the evidence, Ben takes Dwight for training and equips him with a better, more accurate rifle. He tosses him some much-needed ammunition, and the two discuss the positive times they've had together over the years. Ben realizes that Dwight is going through all of this to exact revenge on his two deceased parents, and the two embrace before Dwight leaves. He switches on the radio and relaxes as the car drives down old country roads. He makes a stop at a diner, indulges in some jamming, and even vomits. Ben destroys the final photograph he has of the two together so that there is no evidence linking them. Dwight then parks his car behind some trees and jumps out, leaving his keys in the ignition. He approaches the Cleveland family home and enters. He cracks the door and enters after taking a quick look at the car and a glimpse inside the house. With his pulse pumping, he climbs the stairs and, with his rifle ready, searches room after room but finds nothing. He even looks into the garage and is surprised to find no one there. He begins examining the area and discovers many guns. He notices a welcome home banner and feels a twinge of guilt as he packs the guns away. He eventually discovers the grave of his parents' killer. There, he goes on to toss away the guns and construct an internal barricade for himself. He remains there until nightfall, and when he grows bored, he begins reading some family novels. When daylight eventually breaks, he thinks it's enough and returns to his car. He picks a shovel and digs a grave for Teddy, but while doing so, he hears the house phone ring. He hurries inside and finds a voicemail from the clans, who are attempting to contact Teddy. Dwight calls the residence from Teddy's phone and leaves his own voicemail. Once again, night descends, but this time a car enters the driveway. Dwight flees behind a wall, and the clans rush inside to listen to his voicemail. Dwight's confession of killing Wade and Teddy, along with his wish for an end to the situation, shocks them as they anxiously listen. The man there declares his intention to kill Dwight's sister, followed by a violent outburst. Dwight refuses to back down, inflicting injuries on the man before taking his own life. The older woman warns Dwight not to shoot them as she talks and distracts him. The youngster from before sneaks into the room with a shotgun and shoots Dwight. However, he fails to complete the task, and Dwight skillfully maneuvers the shotgun to aim it at the young boy. Despite his severe bullet wound, Dwight continues to interrogate the family. Dwight instructs the little child to go to his car and depart. As the child walks away, the clans attempt to grab a gun, and all we hear is gunfire. As the boy walks away, Dwight, the only one left alive, takes his final breaths. The house is transformed into a massive crime scene, and we finally understand why Dwight penned that postcard at the beginning. He intended to convey a message to his sister, even though he might face death during the extraction of the clans. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.